न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वा गच्छति नो मनो न विद्मो न विजानीमो यथैतदनुशिष्यात् न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वा गच्छति नो मनो न विद्मो न विजानीमो यथैतदनुशिष्यात् tatra tatra means there the eye cannot reach na tatra chakshu gacchati na va gacchati nor speech na manah nor the mind na vidmo we do not know it yathai tad anushishyat nor do we know how to impart it. Strange. You go to a guru and ask him with utter surrender and devotion, please describe that truth. And here the guru says, yathai tad anushishyat. We do not know how to teach you this. We do not know how to impart it. We do not know. Okay, thank you very much. I'll look for another fellow who knows little bit more than you. Bye-bye. If chance comes, if I'm going by this way, I'll greet you again. Otherwise, better luck with your sadhana. It's not like that. So it's very interesting. So the first half of the verse, he says, the eye cannot reach that, nor speech, nor mind. Remember the language of the Shastras. We have said earlier, the Shastras use the language of collective usage. So when they mean one, they mean the whole. So when they say eyes, it means the entire range of your organs of perception. Your organs of perception cannot reach that. Tat. Tat refers to that. That refers to the Brahman, the reality, the consciousness. There the eye cannot reach. Na tatra chakshur gacchati. Na vak, speech. Speech refers to the organs of action. You can't reach God through the organs of action. Manaha, you can't reach God through the mind, through the intellect. So when they use the mind, it's the mind and the intellect. When they mean the eye, it's the organs of perception. When they mean the speech, it is the organs of action. Collective usage. Now, why is it we understand the principle? Now, it's for those who don't get it. And for those who know it, a reiteration, Atman cannot be reached through the eye, speech, the mind and the intellect, is because Atman is the very subject that enables these organs to function. Atman is not an object of perception, emotion and thought. Atman is not something which can be captured by your eyes, which is your organs of perception. Atman is not that which can be grasped by the organs of action. Atman is not that which can be felt by emotion. Atman is not which can be understood by the intellect. What is Atman? It is that which enables. So Atman is the subject and not the object. Since it is the subject and not the object, therefore he says, I cannot reach nor the speech nor the mind indeed. It's too subtle. It's intangible. It is beyond the limitation and the capacity of your body, mind and intellect. The BMI can only deal with the terrestrial. The BMI cannot reach the transcendental. So the Atman is the transcendental. So the terrestrial equipments cannot reach the transcendental reality. It cannot. Therefore, he says, the mind cannot reach it, nor the speech, nor the eye. It's too subtle. It's also the transcendental. It's too subtle for the equipments to capture it. It is also the transcendental. The terrestrial cannot reach the transcendental. Therefore, he says, it cannot. So you must give up the idea of trying to capture God through the body, mind, intellect. It cannot be captured. It's just like the observer who sits in the observatory. He sits behind those powerful telescopes. They go deep into the unknown realms of trying to catch the glimpse of that. So much activity happening in that unknown realm. And with that powerful telescopes, they're able to, aren't they? They're able to pick up so much of activity. And we know there's so much out there in the vast unknown open skies. There's the Milky Way. There is so much is happening. So many planetary systems and meteors and the galaxies that exist out there. You're able to capture that through that powerful telescope. But that telescope which has helped you to explore into the realms beyond the known, can that very telescope, can you see the very eye through which you have seen all that? You cannot see the very eye. You can't turn backwards and go inward. It is the eye which lends that vision, but it cannot go back to the very source that which has lent its vision. The telescope is only outward. It cannot go inward. You cannot get to the very source. So in that simple sentence, he says, Atman cannot be experienced by the organs of perception. Therefore, you cannot see God. You cannot smell God. You cannot taste God. You cannot touch God, etc. Because God is not an object of perception. Your actions cannot take you any closer to God, because God is not an object which can be gained through your action. God can't be felt by the mind. So when you feel divinely, the emotions cannot give you the experience of Reddy Garu is very angry with me. When I say that emotion can't take you to God, he's saying, what? You better watch out. What's the next statement you're going to say? Like that, he gave me a look, So I better clarify that before that anger mounts, then it becomes difficult for me to deal with,
Pranam Guruji, it's not anger, it's a confusion.
I know there's something going on. Only slight confusion in me. What is that emotion,
Like telescope is exploring the outer world, you are exploring your inner world.
That's what the text is guiding us, sir. What's the confusion, sir?
No, when you're mentioning, Guruji, that mind is only the one which can pursue the God.
No, I didn't say that. I said mind cannot feel God, nor the intellect conceive God. I said it cannot, I said.
Then how we, to say, what is the subject where we're talking about neither the mind, neither the intellect, neither the perception organs, then how we can pursue the God?
We cannot. That's what he's saying. You don't have the receptacles, you don't have the equipments. The equipments are too gross. You can't. It's like somebody says, can I borrow fire? You have a campfire, and I also want to set up a campfire. I also want to borrow fire. How do I borrow fire? You will give me a piece of wood or a little charcoal which is burning. That's how I borrow fire, isn't it? Fire is too subtle, which can be transferred, isn't it? You need a tool. Similarly, the knowledge is too, or the realization of the self is too subtle. which cannot be captured through these equipments. So we must technically understand the body, mind, and intellect are incompetent to take you to realization. Directly, you can't directly capture God through these equipments. But then you may say, sir, then what is the whole exercise then?
Yes.
So the simple argument, the understanding should be that anything finite can never give you that infinite experience. Anything finite can never give you that infinite experience of realization. But then what finite efforts can do, the finite efforts can take care of the finite obstacles you have created, which are becoming a barrier between you and God. Something is a barrier between me and that infinite experience of the self, isn't it? I'm not able to tap that reservoir of peace or bliss or happiness, which is that very self, which is a very, very source. I'm not able to tap. Why? Because of there is something,
Right.
a barrier. So the self-created, self-imposed restrictions. So the knowledge and efforts can only deal with the barriers. They were saying, upon my roof breaking down, I had an uninterrupted sight of the moon. I couldn't see the moon because I had a roof, I had barriers, I had windows, I had curtains. I couldn't see the light. Upon my roof breaking down, I had uninterrupted. Sunlight is all pervading, but if I put blinders, if I block the light and I say the room is dark, who is responsible for that? I am responsible for that. Light is all pervasive, isn't it? Similarly, to gain that experience of the self, the efforts take care of the finite obstacles. Right? This is how you must understand. Directly, they don't give you the self, but the efforts take care of the obstacles that are a barrier between me and God. Okay.
Got it.
Got it, Ji. Now, Arunama, if I can ask you, when we say finite obstacles, what are the finite obstacles that's a barrier between me and God?
The finite obstacles, I think it is the desires that is created by the mind, that is the obstacles between us and God, created by the BMI.
The desires, the physical, mental,
our attachments, expectations,
physical, mental, intellectual desires, your attachments, your expectations,
identification, all this, our likes and dislikes.
Your likes and dislikes, in short, your egoistic personality. The big fat ego we all have is that which goes about becoming a barrier between me and God. I put a finger in front of my eye and say, I don't see the world. So the power of this little finger can block the whole world out. I close my ears and say, I don't hear anything. So it is that your little innocuous, not little, it's a big ego that we have that blocks the self, you know. As they say, ego is nothing but you're edging God out, isn't it? You have kicked out God. You have separated yourself from the self. You separated yourself from the self because of your own self-assertiveness of your own false self. So the knowledge and the knowing and the wisdom is to remove the ignorance which you have, which you're holding on to. Once the ignorance is removed, then comes the realization. So when he says the eyes cannot reach, remember, The I by itself cannot take you there, because God is not something which can be perceived. So you cannot see God. It's not something which is tangible. What you call as God today are only symbols and idols and relics of that Brahman. Remember, the idol represents the ideal. Idol is not the ideal. Must not make this mistake. Idol, the various idols that we have created in every religion has various idols. The idol represents the Brahman, the reality, the consciousness. The idol is not to be mistaken to be the God here. Now, if you mistake the idol to be the God, what would happen? Usha, Suresh. If you mistake the idol to be the ideal, what would happen? Which is what everybody is doing in religion.
It will be the end in itself. You can't go beyond it.
What is end in itself?
You are attached to the idol.
All right. So if the question is, if you have mistaken the idol to be the ideal, Ushama is saying that it becomes an end in itself thereafter. You're not able to go beyond the idol.
Idol.
Any other thought, Amitama? When you mistake the idol to be the ideal, what happens?
I think when we do that, sir, the ritual, for example, of offering an idol, for example, prayers, flowers, whatever, that becomes the end goal. And I think that is where delusion happens, because there is much more ahead that that we may be deluded from, pursuing. So the ritual becomes the goal. So whether it is a lavish, presentation of offerings, for example, that becomes the goal, rather than the truth or self-realization.
Right. So you echo what Ushama is saying, that you get stuck, it limits you. RPG, what happens? The fact I'm asking is, I'm looking for more, not that you're all wrong. There's more to that. What's the question, RPG, before you attempt?
What happens when you focus on the ideal versus the ideal, the idol versus the ideal? What's your state? And so the first part,
rather to say, not just focus, but if you glorify the idol to be the ideal, what's the drawback?
yeah. So, Ushama and Amitama, I think rightly, you get stuck there, right? You can't go any further. But I think more than that, you continue to emphasize and focus on your own ego, your own personality, your own desires and the like. And so it's not even a matter of I'm stuck. I'm not lifting myself up to something greater, a greater vision. So again, you continue to feed that process, and so that you don't cut loose from the cycles of birth and death.
But then where is ego involved here if you are holding on to an idol?
Well, I think it comes, something that Amitama said, you get caught up in what have I offered to the idol? What, look at me, it's that egoistic approach It's not that you have let go or detached. It's you're further attaching yourself to something that is ultimately terrestrial and worldly. And the whole exercise of focusing on the ideal is to remove that attachment. And we continue to reinforce it and reinforce it over and over again when we look at the idol and not the ideal.
All right. Right. Okay. You have a point, Urpiji? Yeah. Lakshmi Ma?
As you think, you become. So when you just look at the idol and think that's the end, you identify yourself with that as the end, and you don't go to the source. You just see with your eyes and don't see from the eye that makes you see. You don't go to the source.
No, it's nice to hear this from you, Lakshmi Ma. You know that.
Yeah, I know, Ganesha.
Yeah, no, not to see anything wrong with it, but
Yes, it's a tool like the knowledge, but I understand. You have to transcend and go to that stage. And if you look at just the ideal as the ideal, it prevents you from transcending to the eye of the eye, the beyond the source. I read somewhere the source and the goal are the same. So you
yes,
have to go to the source.
very true. Yeah, the source and the goal are very much the same. Yeah. Yeah. Well said, Ma. Yeah. Tinky Ma?
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes, ma'am.
When we see an idol and take it to be Brahman, actually we are seeing it as an object of perception, and it is not the object, it is the subject. So what we are doing is we are making the infinite finite.
Mm. Correct. This is something which I was looking for, something more than what others have said. You're right. Very true. I'll expand on that. Let me hear from a couple of them. Yeah, Sitaramanji, I'll come to you, Sitaramanji, just a minute, please.
Priyam Guruji.
Yes, sir.
We mistake idol is a representative of ideal. So we mistake representative as the master. And he is not outside us, actually. He is infinite, and we have to, instead of searching inside, we are searching outside. In other words, we are making him transcendental.
But then what would be the effect of that? It's like going by with you, what you said is like making the clerk the boss.
What, Guruji? Yeah.
It's like making the clerk the boss.
Yeah.
Clerk is only trying to take you to the boss, but clerk is not the boss, no?
See,
if you make the clerk the boss, what would happen?
It is like, ambassador coming, we can't treat him as a king or a representative. He is only a representative. Okay. We idolize him as a king of the country or the president of the country. He is representing that country.
Okay. So I understand you have an objection to the word clerk. I respect that. I will say I will rise up to the level of the ambassador. You're right. No, you're right. Yeah, fair enough. Very good. Very good point. You make the representative the king. Not really. You're right. Sitaramji.
I have two points to make. One is, if you consider the ideal to be the ideal, then your goal of self-realization stops at that. actually the ultimate goal is to go towards self-realization, or at least proceed in that direction. The moment we identify the ideal with the ideal, then the search stops, and you have not reached it. So that's one. So it stops you from going further in that direction. Second is that the intermediaries between you and the ideal who are there, human beings, they become very important in your life. So you want to go to a big temple which has got the maximum amount of, say, faith and worship, people worship there. So the people who are in between you and that idol, they become more important than anything else. And uh, so the entire effort becomes more to propitiate the intermediaries to reach that idol, whereas actually they don't matter at all.
It's immaterial, actually.
Yeah.
So in fact, you are trying to give focus to the to the non-essentials than the essentials.
Yeah.
You get lost, right? Fair point. Yes. Tirupati Rao, Chepandi sir. First me darshanam event sir మీరు.
దర్శనం బాలాజీ మట్టం ఇస్తారు సార్.
ఎక్కడ బాలాజీ ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాడా? ఎక్కడ బాలాజీ ఉన్నాడా? లేడా ఇవాళ?
కొండెక్కి సార్.
కొండపైన ఉన్నాడు. ఎక్కుదాం, కొండ ఎక్కుదాం. Yes, Tirupati.
Yes, I think, sir, what's happening is the idealization of things could be in the physical forms, like the idols and so on, or it could be the intellectual, the philosophical, like Marxism, socialism, those could be the ideal ideologies that people can also get hold of beyond the physical idols that we see. But that is actually creating the effects of it is creating a lot of problems in the world today in terms of fanatisms and compartmentalizing people. Even during the early days of Renaissance, there was also different thoughts came in that religion and science is two different things. We start to talk about secularism, and that has influenced a lot of the education system today, saying that science is greater than religion and things like that. You know, those kind of thoughts and divisions are coming in, where initially those kind of divisions are not there. If you're looking at the final destination of what we are talking about here, the eye of eye and ear of the ear, because we are looking at something lower level identification. Like once we are going out of the earth, we will see earth as one piece. We don't see mountains and rivers and divisions as countries. So this is what's happening today as fanatism, and we are fighting.
You're right. I think at the intellectual level, if you idealize these opinions of masters or views or the truths laid down by great men at different eras, it becomes fanaticism comes in, you know? And then becomes the very knowledge becomes an impediment for your growth. You know? So idols are only a means, an avenue to get to the ideal. In fact, you cannot get to the ideal, interestingly, without the idol. An idol is an integral part. We did mention this. We understand that it's an integral part, but you can't get to that without the idol. Sorry, you can't get to the ideal if you get stuck to the idol. So it's a very delicate, smart, intelligent usage of these tools for our development, isn't it? So, but if we realize, in fact, I would go to the extent and say it is very unlikely to come across anyone who's actually not attached to the idols. It's very unlikely if there's someone out there who is industrious, using the idols only to get to the ideal. Very rare. When I say that, all of you are stuck to something or other out there. And if I were to know that, it's very easy to unsettle you. If I know what you're attached to, and if I can push you in that area of attachment, I can easily unsettle you. And you get unsettled only when you don't surrender. And that's why I have to draw a line where, to what extent I can present this truth. You know the story of his Ramakrishna Parahamsa, the great Ramakrishna, his guru demolished the idol of goddess Kali, whom he was worshipping. He was attached to, and while he was in his prayer in the sanctum sanctorum, the guru demolishes the idol, the statue he was worshipping. If I walk into your house, there are many people who say, Guruji, this is your house, you're welcome, and you would happily welcome me to your house. If I were to come into your house and go and destroy your sanctum sanctorum, your place of worship, the next thing I'll be thrown out physically from the house. I'm not trying to insult, I'm only trying to tell you what it is. It is not as gross an act as like that, but this is what his guru did, and that gave him moksha because he was attached to it. So you are attached to your guru, you're attached to some symbol, you're attached to an institution, you're attached to an opinion, you're attached to something in the spiritual thing you're attached to. In fact, you may have got rid of all worldly attachments, but what you have done, conveniently picked up one spiritual attachment. Still you're stuck. You may have got rid of what is there in money, sir, what is there in name, I am not interested in power. You may have vairagya, dispassion for all these things. You're not running behind all this, but then you're stuck to a Swami, you're stuck to an institution, you're stuck to something, stuck to an idol, stuck to a form, stuck to an image, stuck to a ritual. It is very, very unlikely you are detached and you have your clarity on the purpose. As Ushama said, everything is a means to an end, not an end in itself. And if you have that perception, you will make good use of everything, but not get stuck to it. G.B. Kiragaru, sorry, you wanted to say something, please, in the context, please.
Jai Gurudev.
Namaskar.
Jai Gurudev.
Yes, sir.
When we childhood, A, B, C, D, A, E, E, the slate is started, but we don't carry further. The notebooks comes, computer comes, and there is still to gain the knowledge. It starts with something. The same ideal also. It starts something, but as Atma, which we can't see through these five senses, the same Paramatma, we can't see these worldly things. Unless is a Bahyamukhi, Antarmukhi. It can be seen only Antarmukhi. This Sukh, Santosh, Anand, Shanti, all this what we worldly things, this is Indriya Sukh. But Atindriya Sukh, which is the same, which is internal, which you're going to experience yourself, which is the main Antarmukhi. This mind is not my hand is not the I, my senses are not the myself. The body is not myself itself. To run this body, or the hand or head or brain or anything, there's something which is beyond this. That is what we call the Atma, soul or energy, whatever. As long as that is there, it works. So connecting with that, Advaita, Dvaita. So ultimately, when it starts to Advaita, what Shankaracharya says is only that is soul, supreme soul is as Vasudeva Kutumbam, looking at everyone, everything, that experiencing that soul, not the body. When I'm talking to Guruji, I see the soul, not the body. That level to reach our this ideal system as a slate, childhood, what is given, the same which we have to throw it out. If you stuck there, that is
Correct.
so
Correct.
that is what I feel. Thank you. Thank you, Guru.
Right. So analogy of the various exercises is like the various tools we have used in our lives to grow. Right. Tirupati, looks like Balaji has come down, sir. He has come down to the plains, to our level. Engappa Balaji. சொல்லுப்பா. சாரி, சொல்லுங்க சார். சரி, பேர் பாலாஜி இப்படி கூப்பிடலாமா? அவ்வளோ தப்பு பண்ண முடியாது. Sir, we need to unmute you, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah, I think you already mentioned it earlier that with the finite, the human can't capture the infinite, right?
Yes.
I think, yeah, basically is that. So what happened? I think something to share, like you in the tunnel, you see the light. The moment you see the light, you need to get out, all right? If not, you're stuck, you'll come to another tunnel. Then that's where the fanatism take place. No? I think the means you tend to believe it, and this has been passed on from generation to generation. Everything made belief. And these people, they think they know it, actually they don't know. You know, that's how been religion, idol worshipping have been passed on generation to generation, yeah, even till today, yeah. So many people, they think they know, they don't know. Of course, there's another line there.
Correct. The next half of the verse says this. They also say they do not know, sir. Upanishadic level you all are, you know. Upanishad, the Guru also says we do not know it. You are also saying I do not know it. You know?
Those who know, they don't know, actually. Yeah.
Correct. Don't confuse us. I have to explain what this verse says. Now you're confusing me now. Right.
Okay, I'm done.
In fact, yes. In fact, it is the job of the Guru to help you develop a detachment to everything, including the attachment you have developed for the Guru itself. Remember this. The job of the Guru to help you detach from everything, including the attachment you have developed to the Guru, so that nothing becomes an obstacle in your journey. That is what Lord Krishna told Arjuna to shoot against his own Guru, isn't it? If your Guru, his Guru, Dronacharya, who taught him that bow and arrow, that knowledge of archery, who made Arjuna what he was, he told Arjuna to shoot. And that's the whole debacle, that's the whole argument, that's the whole confusion within. How am I to shoot my own Guru who has taught me to hold the bow and arrow? So there was the Guru on one side, and then there was another side is to establish dharma. So if at all, don't take it a practical situation, if at all you have that situation where your Guru and the dharma for your understanding, if that comes in between, the Guru's existence can come to an end. But that's only theoretical. That part you can know it, hear it, and forget it. Don't register that section. Otherwise, there will be consequences for me. So for my own self-protection, I am saying theoretical. Don't take it practical. And now Ushama, both Ushamas, don't take it seriously. Don't take a note of it. And suddenly these people will take a note of it and they will transcript it and then capture it somewhere. No need to capture this section. Edit that section. So the job of the Guru is to help you dislodge, but a Guru will not unsettle you. And if Guru will help you only if you surrender, and since your surrender is limited to that extent, the Guru will help you. Even the Guru who wants to help you becomes helpless because you are stuck. You've got to understand how it all works. They are also helpless. Because remember, the fundamental principle is knowledge is always taken and never given. So Guru will not give knowledge to you unless until you're ready for it. But nobody else can dislodge you from your attachment except a Guru. Remember that. Yes, Dr. Ravi.
Hari Om.
Yeah, please try, Dr. Ravi. Yeah.
Hari Om, Vinayji.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I heard a lot of answers from the very good question. So now let me rephrase or remember back the question. The question is, what will happen if idol worship is continued, and can we reach from finite to infinite? The answer from my end is, if we do that continuously, what will happen to that individual is he continues in his journey into ignorance. Ignorance continues in the knowledge of self, and it's never ending there.
You change the question itself. Parvala.
That's why I brought back the question. So what was the original question?
No, you are very much in right. In fact, the question is, if you continue to glorify the idol, because the idol represents the ideal, but if you glorify the idol to be the ideal, what are the consequences? Which everybody said, and
what I said is the ignorance continues in the path of knowledge of self.
Correct.
Thank you.
Right. In fact, resonating all what you have said, perhaps one thing also could be taken note of is when you idealize the idol to be the ideal, you have limited the concept of God to the idol itself. You fail to realize the magnitude and the grandeur of what the true God or Brahman is. As Tinkima said, you have made the infinite the finite, but you don't understand the true grandeur of what Brahman is. So by limiting it to that, you don't see beyond it. And the whole purpose of the exercise is the text is trying to expand your vision, expand your understanding as to what that Brahman is. But if you bring it down to the idols and limit it there, you're limiting the very concept of God. You're limiting the very expansive nature of God to that mere object that you're attached to. That's the idols. That's a danger there. Which in fact, the fourth verse talks about it. That's the quintessential statement is made in the next verse. If I can get to it, I'll certainly clarify that today. Yes, Sitaramji.
I'm only asking a question. A bulk of the Vedas that we have really deals with rituals rather than only small portion of the Upanishads really talks of this philosophical aspect. But majority of the Sama Veda, etc., they're all ritual based. This is dichotomy in the two. This thing that a bulk is towards the what we're saying is the non-essential, and the kernel is a very small portion. Did the masters who wrote all things think that the layperson will not be able to appreciate the transcendental, hence devoted most of their teachings only, or whatever it is, only to that? But to me, that becomes a strange kind of a thing. Though it's difficult, you should devote more to it, more time to that rather than to this one, which is easy to understand, the rituals.
No, it's a very good observation what you say, but see, they understood that they were not understood. They understood the difficulty in conveying the deeper philosophical message. So they had to draw their attention towards them. And the only way they could do that is through introducing these various rituals and the gods and the goddesses and all that the Hindu pantheon, which has come about, the large spectrum of the various ritualistic activities. But as I've said, it is not possible to continue your spiritual sadhana without a ritual, without an idol. So it's an integral part. We're not dismissing the the role. We are dismissing your obsessive attachment to that idol. That's where the knowledge comes in. That's where a guru comes in. That's where the scriptures come in and tell you that even in fact, if you understand the ritual, you understand it's only symbolic. The fact is you are performing the ritual without understanding what it's meant for. So it's a lack of understanding. Even there, the knowledge is absent. They are not saying the ritual is everything. When you understand the ritual, it's everything in the ritual talks about the highest truth. So the simple rituals are when you go to a temple, when you go and stand in front of the altar, what do we do unknowingly? Don't we all close our eyes? Why do you close your eyes? You have gone there to gain a glimpse of the Lord. Imagine you planning to go to Lord Balaji, or going such preparation, so much of effort you put in to get that little opportunity or window, to get a chance to go with your family, and you want to get that auspicious moment, and then you get a fraction of a second, a few minute rather, a few seconds you don't have a luxury of sitting there for half an hour. That's a luxury, unheard of. And even that, in that minute, there's so much of hush and push and rush, and there's so much happening around you, and you have to concentrate on the idol. And even there, you close your eyes. I remember getting into an argument with my mother. You tell me we go all the way to Tirupati to see the Lord, and then my mom used to say, close your eyes, close your eyes. I said, I want to open my eyes and see. Why should I close my eyes? I could have closed my eyes outside the temple. But still, unknowingly, it's just rubbed into us that you close your eyes when you are there at the Lord. Even if you do see, you close your eyes because you want to make it subjective. Even the very ritual you perform, when the arati is given, there's a mantra which is chanted. What is the mantra, Hariji? Any idea?
I don't know the Sanskrit. I'm not very I don't remember exactly, but the meaning is that with this limited karpura, I cannot. You are the source of the entire light.
Yeah.
With this small light of karpura, how can I lighten you? I cannot.
Correct. The ritual, as you all know, the traditional temples, the sanctum sanctorum is intentionally kept dark. Again, why is the sanctum sanctorum kept dark? Only to educate you that you do not know the God within. And then the camphor is lit. Why is a camphor chosen to light, to give you the arati? Camphor, you know what camphor symbolizes, Sitaramji?
I think it is transient.
What does it symbolize?
You make the camphor, some chemical which
I'm not
lights
asking
for
the
a
chemical
small
part.
time and then
Philosophical
disappears.
part. Philosophical part. What does the camphor symbolize?
Enlightenment.
No. Gayatri Ma. Hold on, sis. Don't mute yourself. Gayatri Ma. Can't hear you, Ma. Rajima, she can unmute herself, so please don't undo it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the ignorance.
Now, what does the camphor symbolize? Okay, back to you, Sitaramji.
Yeah, I think, of course, I read a message fleetingly and that prompted me. I think it symbolizes the fact that your vasanas, etc., wishes that they sublimate immediately.
The camphor symbolizes the vasanas.
It sublimates.
That sublimates. Vas means fragrance.
Yeah.
So camphor is nothing but consolidated fragrance. The pure sample of camphor, if you leave it to open air, it volatilizes, isn't it? It evaporates. Similarly, vasana, the derivative root of vasana is vas. Vas means fragrance. So vasanas is the fragrance of your personality. Like Sitaram has a fragrance. Gayatri has a fragrance. Hariji has a fragrance. Everybody has a fragrance, and the fragrance is defined by the vasana. So when you burn the camphor, camphor symbolizes the vasana. So when the camphor is burnt, you get the darshan of the Lord. And when you do that, the verse that is chanted, which says the symbolic significance, it says, the sun can't illumine, the stars can't illumine, the moon can't illumine. What can this camphor illumine? So there's a mantra which is chanted, which Rajima will chant for us.
न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्नि तमेव भान्तम् अनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति.
Yes, this is the verse. Hariji, correct? This is the correct, this is the verse that is chanted, which says, Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoya magnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Now the pujari is chanting. He doesn't understand what he is chanting. You who are giving the special tip to do that special arati don't understand what is going on. Everything is being performed in that atmosphere of utter ignorance. Nothing is dispelled. What is going on? So the ritual of performance conveys something. So do you blame the ritual, Sitaramji? Or do you blame your inability to know what it meant? So we should not point a finger just because the Shastras, predominance of the Vedas have these rituals. We can't blame them. They have given with a very clear intention to uplift mankind from where we are. If we have, it is the fall of our intellect. It is our downfall. I have never bothered to question or find out what am I doing? Why am I doing? What does it symbolize? Rather than me finding a reason why there is such percentage of ritual is because of the sheer proportion of non-thinkers are more, so they had to cater to them. And yet, if the so-called majority start making sense of what they are doing, automatically they're transporting themselves to the higher levels, isn't it? Instantly, that's where the knowledge comes in. Even if you start understanding what you're doing day in and day out, it's you've gone too far into the, you come too far away from the mechanical rituals and you got into the philosophical truths, which the direct Vedas are talking about. Does that just clarify, Sitaramji?
Yeah, it does.
Right, perfect. Okay. Hariji. Now I'm thinking, why did I ask the question? Arpiji, the question I asked, 1 hour has gone by. What was the question I asked? Arpiji?
About the ideal and the idol?
Yes. Look at it what has happened. Now, I'm
So,
not.
Go ahead, Guruji.
No. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so, what, when we glorify the idol versus focusing, seeking the ideal, what are the consequences?
Correct. No, I'm only saying that time has gone by. I did not have that in the script which I wanted to do today. And the whole flow has swept all of us away in a different thing.
So we all got focused on the idol.
Correct. Everybody is lost in the idol. Nobody is remembering what is the ideal here.
Focused on the
what to do here. That the flow is so strong, even the Guru is swept away. Ayyo Rama. No, it's the important thing is how do you allow this thought process to directly influence that which you are holding on to as if it's your life support. There's some kind of fanaticism out there in your spiritual practice. There's some rituals you're holding on to, some idols, some belief systems, some relic you're holding on to as if it is everything. So let's just try and realize it is not everything. It is just a symbol. If that realization comes into directly in areas where you are holding on to, what you're holding on to, and it's not being personal, that lift, if you can give yourself and pull yourself out that which you're holding on to, I think it's an invaluable exercise, and the time we spent is worth justified, because if that's the help, you can help yourself. I can't do that. Allow me to do that, I would do that, but then it's too much of an exercise. But you got to help yourself. That's what the Gita says, Uddharet Atmanatmana. You got to help yourself. You got to lift yourself by yourself. And the lift happens in areas where you are stuck. And this understanding will help you to do that. So exactly where you're stuck, you got to pull yourself out. All right, so I think we will get hold of the verse, Tirupati, that particular verse that you're talking about. Rajima, it's not difficult. In fact, she can get hold of the verse and it will be shared with the group. It's just that I think they are of a different group in the Malaysian group. So share it with Ushama, then it will reach out to you all there, and then the group here as well. Okay, right. Shivaji, you wanted to say something? Sorry, I realized that. Sir, we need, wait, you need to be unmuted, sir.
Yeah, we are getting stuck with the wrapper, gift wrapper. We are not
Ah.
opening gift.
Correct.
We are enamored by salesperson and the marketing person, but not the content of that.
And who is the marketing person here?
And you need
answer that question. Don't move on. I'm pinning it down here. Who is the marketing person?
I am the marketing.
Illa, Ningilla.
You.
No. The gurus are the marketing people, and you are lost by the charm of the personality.
Yeah, I'm just coming.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm just coming to
yes.
Understand the formless. We need to appreciate the form. Without appreciating the form, you will not be able to understand the formless. The form is the guru. Form is, we need to, even the path is important. The way which we take. For us to understand the formless, form is essential. Rituals are essential as when you appreciate it. If you don't appreciate it, the rituals have no sanctity of any kind.
Correct.
To understand the formless, we need to appreciate the form. That's what I want to share.
Very, very good point. Appreciate, but in the right spirit, and we understand they have a role to play. Yes, and beyond a point, as J.P. Rao Guru said, you don't use the slates and the chalk pieces and the pencils. You have risen above that. You got to understand that you need to go beyond the certain rituals. You know, it's not demeaning here. It's to understand the role they play, the limited role. Okay, right, Ji. Lakshmi Ma, just a minute. Hariji wanted to say something, and then after that.
I wanted to say two things. One is when we are in the path doing rituals and worshipping idols and all, we get a sort of bliss, which we misunderstand as the ultimate bliss. So we get stuck. We are not able to go further. Number two, we cannot, it is just like the rituals and idols, etc., are like pole. They are necessary to lift ourselves up to a level. Without the pole, you can't cross over the bar. And with the pole also, we cannot cross it. So we have to leave the pole there. So pole vault is the best example.
Correct. Correct. Very good. Perfect, Ji. Perfect. Lakshmi Ma.
After hearing everyone, I feel like as long as we don't go within and become the subject itself, there's always be a duality between us and God, right? We always think it's outside. So that the duality will not vanish. To become the subject itself, we have to go within. Meditation is the only way, I guess.
That comes in the last stages of the journey, but duality exists even while you're meditating.
Yeah.
Because you're meditating on the truth. There's still the duality there, even at that level. That level there is duality. But you're talking at the final stages of the journey, But to make the efforts fruitful, the question, the whole discussion is to start looking at the idols and the rituals from a different perspective. You've got to look at it from a different perspective. So don't glorify them to be the ideal. Okay, right. And
thank you.
Yes, ma. So the second half of the verse, I just got a few minutes to just mention that. So the second half of the verse, he says, Navidmo navijanimo yathaitad anushishyat. We do not know it. Vidma na vidma. When he says we do not know it, he means that we do not know it in an objective sense, because knowing or experiencing is in a language which you and I understand. When you know something, there is the knower and the known. When you understand something, there is the object of understanding and the person who's understanding. So there's a subject and object. So when he says we do not know it, it is not in the sense of a normal experience. We don't perceive it, we don't feel it, we don't comprehend it, because Brahman is not an object of perception, emotion, thought. So in that sense, we do not know it. It's like, oh, I have seen the Taj Mahal. In that sense, he says, I do not perceive God in that sense. We do not know it in that sense. It's not something which is tangible with the gross equipments. We do not know how to impart it. I can't give that subjective experience to you, man. You got to experience it yourself. As we say, you can take a horse up to the lake, you can't make it drink it. You got to do it yourself. So the Guru can only give you objective description. He can't give you the subjective experience. The subjective experience is something which you got to do. Therefore, he says, we do not know how to impart it. And when they say that, it is a sign of utter humility. They don't have the arrogance of that state of realization and say, we know it. They say, we do not know it. It's because you will not be able to understand. Not that we can't convey. With our best abilities to convey, it is difficult to convey that spirit to you. So it's a truly humbling experience when you listen how, with such humility, they say that we will not know how to impart it. Yathaitan anushishyat. We do not know how to teach this. And yet, with such love and affection, they go to great lengths to explain the inexplicable. See, this can't be captured in word and thought, and yet they use the limitation of language to convey that which cannot be conveyed. We got to respect that effort and initiative, isn't it? But the message in the verse is when he says the eye cannot reach that, nor the speech nor mind. Remember, Atman is the subject which enables the various experiences. Atman is not an object which can be experienced at the physical, mental, intellectual. Right? I will leave you with this thought.